secrets. However, I feel like Biafra isn't the solution. And the reason why I say this is because the problems that we've all been talking about Nigeria, blah, 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 is corruption. It's at the root of every problem. And when you look at corruption for what corruption is, it's not Igbo, it's not Yoruba, it's not Hausa, it's not Calabar, it is corruption.
Pretty much and universal in this case.
Exactly. And now my issue with Biafra is if Igbos were to move out of Nigeria, yeah, it's one of those ones where you're still going to have corruption anyway, because corruption isn't as a result of Igbos being marginalized. Exactly, that's my problem.
I get you.
And then forward thinking, which is what I think a lot of people lack, because the solution of Biafra and splitting up Nigeria, you're only going to have a situation where if Biafra was a standalone country, and let's say we aligned with Russia, for instance, because of our potential growth, just like how you have Israel aligning with America, you're going to have maybe the Oduduwa maybe potentially aligning with, I don't know, China. You're going to have the North maybe aligning with Europe. Now, you're still going to find yourself in a situation where we play not against each other. And that is my issue. And that's what a lot of people don't realize. And it happens in today's world, you know, look at the world as you have it today. Like you can see how America has left. Yeah, you can see how America is leaving Europe now, and Europe's power in the world is potentially reduced, like with NATO. So now we're all saying Biafra, Biafra, Biafra. If we literally have a standalone country called Biafra, and we're not in good terms with our neighbors, which could potentially happen, so you're still going to find yourself in the same situation, and then it even becomes worse, you know.
Right.
So that's why, for me, I don't think proposing Biafra as a solution to Nigeria's problem because of the marginalization of Igbos is the best way forward. And that's just my issue with the whole IPOB.
Right. It's like, you know,
this what I'm trying to say to you. So it's not the case that I don't understand that Igbos are marginalized. I get it,
right.
But I wouldn't just say like, oh, for that.
It's not just there.
Because of that sentiment, or because it's just like if you have malaria, and let's say the symptom of your malaria is fever, you can't just provide a solution that addresses the fever, but you still have that malaria, and then it could be the case that not treating that malaria could become a bigger problem, and that's just my issue with this whole.
Your concern, right, and your observations, right, they are very valid, legit, okay, but I am going to borrow maybe about 5 minutes of your time before you leave, okay, to try and see if I could, share some perspectives on this subject with you. Right here, right now, all right?
Yeah, of course.
So that, for the benefits of our viewers who have listened to you, and somehow, some of them are feeling like, like from the word we use from the start, you are uninformed, this or that, which is wrong. To me, all your observations are valid. Your concerns are legit. And we'll start from, we should be talking about solution, rather than just the problem. That's from where you started, remember?
Yeah.
Then you went on to further explain your personal conviction that Biafra is not the solution, or should we say, may not be the only solution. Like just being kind of like, liberal in this sort of a point of view. Do you get that now?
Yeah.
So I'll start with what the solution part, because it is the easiest one to answer, okay? The reason why we are where we are today, right, it is not by coincidence and it is not by accident. It is pure premeditated. And therefore, the idea of marginalization among all ethnic nationalities in Nigeria is true, but it is not completely true when we begin to compare it with what the Igbos have been subjected to. And that is also, to some people, right, it is like argumentative, kind of like it could be arguable and say, well, you know, whatever it is that the Igbos think they are facing, other people are facing it. But that what would be unfair is the fact that the only thing that is common, which everybody shares right now, is misgovernance. That is equitably distributed. There is no part of Nigeria that is not marginalized. No part.
Thank you.
Okay? But the difference is that within that same space, right, there's this sense of belonging that ordinarily, naturally should be there. Unfortunately, it was a line, right, that has become so blurred that they've like crossed it many times. And what is that? Primarily, they believe that we have the Hausas, the Igbos, and the Yorubas as the three ethnic major nationalities in Nigeria. Some other ethnic nationalities pretty much feels offended that how could they just mention three tribes where, I mean, ethnic and all that, and they are not mentioning them. Okay, so I'm starting with the solution, like I said again. The idea of one Nigeria is shrewd in lies. And because the idea of one Nigeria is shrouded in lies, makes it difficult to have what you can call, common interest. For example, for every ethnic nationality in Nigeria to say there's something that is national interest that all of us shares. And therefore, despite all our differences, right, we can still work together. Now, the idea of one Nigeria is an idea of the guys who are pretty much like the power mongers in Nigeria, and they cut across all tribes again. Oh, it's not limited to any particular one. All tribes.
But Mike, can I chip in? Can I just chip in to what you're saying, because I understand. I understand where you're coming from, and I completely agree with you. But one thing is, when Nigeria was a great country, when the naira was greater than the pound, it wasn't as a result of us being divided. We were together. It was the capacity of every single person. I still remember, like, even when my dad used to come to England, and it's sad that a lot of people have forgotten this history, and it's the previous generations that will probably remember when you could get a scholarship. Like, this is why you find a lot of Nigerians who were born in England and Russia and all these places. Like, things were thriving in Nigeria before we discovered crude oil. Like, even in schools, you had like cultural day. We're literally united as a country. And this is when the naira was greater than the pound. But something happened at some point where, like, these guys realized for corruption to thrive, they had to divide each and every one of us. And this is what happened. But where, to the point where, like, that identity and having that national interest just completely disappeared.
And all of that.
Exactly. And it's sad, and this is what I'm saying, but it is possible to still achieve that goal of one Nigeria. And I strongly
Biafra comes in. Okay.
No, but if you have a Biafra, you're not going to have one Nigeria, because you're going to have
the idea of it. Okay. See, where I was going with my own postulation earlier, right, was the fact that you see all that greatness that you mentioned. Nigeria was great. The naira was bigger than pounds and all of that. They were illusions created by the early birds, called the early leaders at the time. An illusion of one country. But because it was an illusion, it wasn't real. Nigerians didn't come together to say they want to be one country. Under what arrangement? There was never any time Nigeria was great. It was an illusion. Now, it was that illusion that I called a line, right? A line that those before these APC guys did everything, right, to keep clear. Okay? There have been, like, profiling of the Igbos in Nigeria for decades. But it was never this pronounced, because what APC, what they have done over the time they've been in charge is to widen that gap of difference, because it helps them to stay in power. And on the other hand, it continued to tear apart what could have been the national fabric of everybody. So people who used to listen to themselves despite their differences, right? Like the Igbos, for example, who have moved on by context, though. They have moved on more than the rest of Nigeria after the Civil War. It's only the Igbos who have actually left their own region to go and reinvest in other parts of Nigeria despite the war. But Nigeria hasn't given them that chance, all right, to have that conversation of, you know, do we still want to be together? Yes, we can still be together, like without breaking up, only if we agree to, right? And that is where you can now discuss what are the, you know, supposed agreed terms of us being together, administratively, security-wise, in all those stuff. That conversation, right? That conversation is what the owners of Nigeria dread so much. They want to, they love the idea, but their fear was that if they should give room to that conversation, and that would be people to decide if they want to be part of Nigeria or not, that may boomerang. Meanwhile, having that conversation could help us a lot to understand our differences, that we are not the same. We have so much differences, but maybe we can find something like in common that we can build on, and a mutual respect where the Igbos will respect the Yorubas for who they are, the Yorubas will respect the Hausas, and everybody will respect every ethnic nationalities under an arranged and agreed terms. Or presently, right? Presently, the idea of one Nigeria is the creation of the political class. But in practice, in reality, all their actions and inactions keeps us more divided, plus the corruption. So when we want to talk about the Igbos,
I think we're saying
Biafra,
I think we're saying the same thing, Michael. Yeah, but carry on.
Yeah, like the Igbos demanding for Biafra. Okay, it is coming from the position of marginalization. Now, if other people feel so marginalized, like the Igbos, as we said, that is only, you know, it is only the only democratized dividend that people have been getting in Nigeria, right? The common share in this sort of frustration and this misery. Okay, so maybe if everybody feels like they shouldn't keep quiet because of their person in power or their willingness to take over power at some time, you know, for themselves. Maybe if everybody can be like the Igbos, then we can have this conversation out of mutual respect, right? Then, you know, everybody can get what they want. And if they still choose to still remain together, great. But we can't really grow. We can't progress if we don't have trust in ourselves. And that is what is lacking in Nigeria today. So if you want to stop Biafra from asking for Biafra, then we must have a conversation about nationhood, where everybody in that same contraption would have to agree that, okay, yes, let's stay together now under these terms. That's not too much, you know. That's something we haven't tried.
And that for me, Maigu, I think is the solution. I can see some of the comments.
Yeah, but some people don't want us to have that conversation at all. That's the problem too. You wouldn't mind us having that conversation, would you?
No, that and I think that's the conversation we should be having. And it's not even just a conversation of just the fact that Igbos have been marginalized or anything. It's a conversation of how we achieve one country. Because honestly, like, yes, because if you look at India and Palestine, for instance, there used to be one country. You know, as a result of that division, they have started fighting each other, even if they're one people. Like, you can't even tell the difference. And I think even those journalists, what's his name? I can't remember his name. You know, the investigative journalist, the really young guy.
David. Is that David?
David, exactly. Some of the things he says, like, if I know a lot of people Nigerians would be saying he's speaking English. If you listen to these are realities that a lot of Nigerians tend to take for granted. Like, if we actually achieve this division that we're talking about in terms of dividing Nigeria, I'm telling you, it's going to be more chaotic, especially now. Like, you have all these external world powers, like these vipers, that have already contributed to the current state of what Nigeria is today. Because I can tell you now, like, Nigeria being the way it is, it's not just even down to the leaders that are leading us. That you have also external forces. You can see what France has been doing in those Francophone countries. Even England has a role to play in the division of Nigeria, because you can ask yourself the question of how is it the case that you will see someone that would go and steal bread, and you'd have mob justice where people are willing to kill that person, put ties on their neck because someone has stolen bread in the markets, even if they've stolen that bread because they don't even have food. But yet you'd have politicians who are stealing billions, and these are politicians. It's not even tribe. You know, like regardless of the tribe, you still have politicians stealing billions, and we still celebrate them.
They are all united. We have said it before that Nigerian politicians don't have, they don't have ethnic, they don't have tribe, they don't have religion.
Yes, they don't.
They are all united.
Exactly. They're all united in messing up one another, like no, not one another, messing us up. And this is why but anyway,
I know. You and I can possibly go on and on about this. Eventually, right? The points are made. Okay, it's not everybody that is going to support the breakup, but majority actually agrees that this current one is not working. Something has to be done, right? If we really want to, move on.
I'm just laughing at the comments. I'm just laughing at the comments of your viewers. This guy is not Igbo in Nigeria.
No. That's the interesting part of it, right? You see some people are going to pick up. No, some people are going to pick up and call back. And call too to have to say.
It was nice to hear them.
That's the beauty of it, right?
People should take away sentiments. People should take away sentiments. Huh?
Anyway, let me take another one, okay?
Yeah, thank you, sorry. Bye.
Thank you so much, Henry, right? Maybe we'll continue again in another, section, okay? Enjoy your evening, Baba. Here is another caller on the line. Hello there.
My good general. I'm so happy I got you. First time caller.
Are you?
I'm so happy.
Your screen displays CJ. What should I call you?
Yeah. You can call me CJ. You can call me Blanco.
CJ.
Yeah, man.
You're welcome.
Wow. I'm so happy.
Fantastic. How are you doing, Baba?
Yeah. I'm okay.
Really?
So I'm calling from Canada. So I'll just go straight to the point. You see the last guy that called talking about Nigeria external interference and all that.
Henry.
You're talking about one Nigeria. You're talking about how Nigeria used to be great. You really answered him well. But the problem is that he needs to understand that one Nigeria exists only for the South. The North are already restructured into an Islamic state. They have their Sharia courts.
Yep.
They have their Sharia police, and they have their Sharia laws. It's already restructured. They are only one Nigeria because of the resources they are getting from the South. That is just the truth. So we cannot live in a fool's paradise and live in ignorance because we want to believe in one Nigeria. Now, he's calling from the UK. The UK exited Brexit. You remember Brexit? The UK left the EU.
Yes.
They are the same one people. They are the same colors. They have been together for centuries, but they left. There comes a time in the life of a country where you have to ask yourself the right questions. Is this union working or is it not? Why is it not working?
It's called having a dialogue.
There's nothing wrong in that. Exactly. Mayegu, I liken it to a family of brothers. Do you understand? Now, when those brothers are together in the house, there's always fights, siblings quarrel, fight. But as they grow up, they mature, they move out, they start their own family, then they all come together. There's no much rancor or fight, especially if they're all doing well. It's all talks, laugh. That's exactly how it is.
You know what I mean?
Respect.
It should be subordinate to another. What we are asking for is just respect of one another.
Exactly.
That's not too much, is it?
It's not too much. It's not too much to ask because one Nigeria is a deception. I was born and raised in Lagos. I can hear and I can speak Yoruba. And then I think in 2003 there was an Igbo man that wanted to contest for a governor of Lagos with Tinubu, and he came to I think it's TVC. I can't remember. And he was, and if you see the way the journalists tried to degrade this man, I felt so embarrassed for him. And the guy did not understand. He was like, but I was born and brought up in Lagos. He was actually speaking Yoruba. Do you understand? He's a Lagosian, and they totally embarrassed him. Do you understand? And if there was a set out map of Nigeria that where it's okay, you as you be Igbo man, or where they come Yoruba land, or whether you speak Yoruba or you know speak Yoruba, the point is to say this is how the Yorubas want it to be. people will respect it. You will not be angry. You will know that, okay, leadership is for Yoruba people. Let me do as I
you may
did.
be the same Nigeria, but listen,
Yes,
you do Yoruba land there, you cannot do this, you cannot do that, because you are Nigerian doesn't give you the right to. There must be that conversation that clarifies that.
There must be that conversation. You understand?
Yep. And anybody, if the Igbo says they are okay with that arrangement, and if the Yoruba says they are okay with that arrangement, and they still want to stay together, that is the conversation we are talking about. I mean, if they say no, you can't live like that, everybody kind of have to their own parents' name.
It's not a quarrel or something. No. Nigeria has been kept together purposefully to be a huge black slave market, to use to oppress the black people in abroad.
That's right.
It is when I traveled to Europe and America, I realized that they keep Nigeria in this condition so that when their people are demanding accountability from their politicians, like low wages and all that, they say, oh, this is about demanding low wages. And these guys are actually not going to take this lean change to work this hard work. So what do? They go and destroy thriving African countries and then bring their people and give them the lower wage.
So their system, exactly.
You understand? Exactly. So we cannot continue to be tools in the hand of these so-called Western powers. Just because it's not good for African people anywhere.
What is the worst that can happen?
Anywhere.
Some of them fears the possibility of the same criminals in Nigeria today to be dominating these new regions or new countries. And I'm like, what is the worst that can actually happen than what is happening right now?
Even if initially they come because they stolen all the money and they dominate, it's only for a short time because now we know that the governance is homegrown. Do you understand?
Yep.
There's no more going to Abuja to protest. Like there's NSAS now. People are protesting in Lagos. It had no effect because you cannot change government from Lagos. But imagine if it was a regional government and the headquarters was in Lagos and the SARS, the police, and Lagos State Police, it would have worked out. Do you understand? The politicians will have nowhere to run to except to go on exile. We know their house now. Do you understand? Maybe
there will be no Abuja to run to anymore. There will be no Abuja go bringing Hausa soldiers to Igbo land to come and shoot protesters, or bring Igbo soldiers or Igbo policemen to Yoruba land to come and shoot, and take Yorubas to Hausa land to go and shoot protesters. They won't be able to do that.
You can't do that because everybody knows your house. They know your papa house. They know your ancestral house. Everybody. So man, Baba.
So the positive side of saying let's go our separate ways, or even having this conversation whereby we can agree on certain terms and conditions that we can live together. That is what the purpose of the country is anyway. People have to agree to live together under what agreement, Abi? So what is the worst that can happen? What is going on right now?
Nothing can be worse than this. Nothing can be worse than this. Nothing can be worse.
Nothing that can be worse than what you are currently witnessing in that contraption, where they gave you fake democracy, who you have no right at all. No human right at all.
The country is generating into fascism. Head on, create down fascism. You want to remove immunity from governors so that you can resign anyhow. It was nice hearing from you. I'm very happy to see you. Let me allow that call.
Thank you so much, CJ, by the way, okay? I really appreciate your phoning, okay? You have a very wonderful evening, all right? That's a CJ. Now, I am going to take a short break to say thank you for my fundraiser, okay? So if you are gifting me, buying me a cup of coffee, that is the QR code that you can scan with the camera of your phone and follow the link, okay? So the other one is the GoFundMe. The link is in the comments as well. And if you want to use it, okay, which I implore you to, all right, just tap it in the comments, and indeed every penny actually counts. So I want to say thank you to these two individuals who have dropped their own widow's mites in support of my fundraiser. So we have Maureen, fantastic. So I have currently at 345. Normally, on a good day, I will be like, maybe I will raise £500 every evening. but it seems like a lot of people are still waiting for pay or so. I don't know. But to those of you who have actually reached out like this, so I want to say a very big thank you to you. Like, thank you. Okay. Your mentor too was like, just keep reminding us. Okay. So it may take time, but we are going to get there. I was like, oh, okay. Amen. Here is Osita, one name.
One name,
the number.
One name, the number. One day, the author. No matter the distance,
yes,
you will still be Muneta.
Amen. Osita.
Yeah. Okay. I never wanted to call. I just came back from
to get you on. Always something.
Yeah, I tuned in. I said, let me just use the program to relax my